Hello, guys. Welcome to Passport Man. I am in a few Passport Bro groups, and in one of the groups, the fellas brought up this image. I've seen it before. This is from an old Jet magazine. I don't know if you can see it on my screen, but it says from November 12th, 1953, I believe. I put together a quick list because some fellas were asking about this, and in my opinion, there are some good parts and some bad parts in general, and it really depends on what kind of guy you are and what your situation is. So let's go over the good parts first. Now, just to give you a little bit of a background, I'm a New Yorker, and I've had three long-term relationships, LTRs, with Japanese ladies, each at least over a year and a half, or I would definitely say over a year worth of relationship with them. Now, one girl is initially a Tokyo girl who's from a very wealthy family. One girl is a Kobe girl, which is a little more upper middle class family, and another girl is from Mie. So they're all grew up in different prefectures, and they also have different personalities, so that shapes things. However, even though they're all from different places, I tend to go for the similar type of girl, which kind of fits for my personality and style. Now, with that, I still see some similarities in the pros and cons, so I'm going to get into that right now. So, the first thing is from my experience, and then this would go from the other ethnicities too. I've also had long term relationships with Korean girls and Indian girls as well. And basically, everybody can cook, but from my opinion, the Japanese girls, for whatever reason, the LTRs I had, they all can cook extremely well. Now, in this title, it says for the Jet magazine, it says, "Do Japanese women make better wives?" And basically, for this video, the matter of debate is whether passport bros should go for Japanese girls. So, unless you have a personal chef, if you're looking for someone to cook in the relationship, in which I personally love that part of a relationship because when it comes to bedroom fun activities, I can get that without the relationship. That's one of my favorite parts of a relationship. Wonderful, great cooked food, and you know what they say? They say something like a way to a man's heart is through his stomach or something. So another great thing about the Japanese women, in my opinion, is they make great mothers. Like you may have some issues with them, but when it comes to if you have a baby with them, they'll definitely be rocking it out, be like 100% great in the mother department. Um, Staying in shape. Now, I tend to go for girls with a little more meat. I'm from New York. I like to have a nice balance. It's not just about the prettiness or the super skinniness. So for me, I like a nice balanced look, and I also like a little, yeah. So anyway, for staying in shape, whether they're super skinny or not, Japanese girls tend to stay in shape. And if you want to stay attracted to your wife, that's another plus for being with a Japanese woman. All right, next. Um, this is a big plus for me, especially since I'm Jamaican and I came from a very chaotic home upbringing as a child, and I tend to get hot headed if I'm in a crazy situation, so I just avoid them altogether. Is they're not gonna get into crazy fights or shouting matches. Now, every single one of the long term ladies has thrown stuff. They've either thrown. I have crazy stories. Each one can be its own YouTube video. But they will throw things if they throw a fit, and if they get too crazy with it. The first Japanese girl, I had to put her in her place and be like, "Look, if you do this, I'm done. I'm not even gonna say anything." But they'll throw stuff. They'll get emotionally heated. They'll test their boundaries, but it's not gonna be on the level as like when I first came to New York. When I was in college, I was dealing with a bunch of girls from the Dominican Republic. These girls will like get in the middle of the street. If you look at a girl or talk to a girl, they'll get into an actual fight with you. To put that in comparison, it's a storm over here, so I just heard a storm, so I'm looking at that out the window. To put that in comparison, like my first Japanese long term relationship girlfriend got mad because I was talking to a girl, live with her, and instead of like yelling at me or screaming at me, she just like ran away and just like left. She complained. She didn't make a big scene, but she just like left. And then that's kind of the extent of what they will do. But they're not going to make a screaming match. They're not going to embarrass you out in public. So those are the good parts I would say about the girls. So we're 5 minutes in. All right, now for the bad parts, and this looks like a bit of a longer list, and that's why I say it really depends on the type of person you are. If with the marriage you're looking at, and most people are looking at kids. If you're looking to have kids with a Japanese woman, this is big. This is famous. I can make another video about this, or you can research on your own. Um, when it doesn't work out with the mothers of your kid, whether it's your son or your daughter, they will run off and take your kid. So if you're in America, they can take your kid to Japan. If they're if you're in Japan, they could take your kid. Now the issue with this is there's no laws really protecting you. So some men give up their lives, like tons of money if they have it, all their time, tens of years fighting the system, trying to fight for their kid. And it's one of those things. I don't know if any of you guys know Coach Greg Adams, but he kind of talks about, to what level are you willing to fight once you have kids. So that's a big thing. There's a YouTuber by the name of Tech Lead. I think his videos are something like, "This is my experience as a millionaire." I think his wife was Chinese and she ran off and brought the kid to Japan, or maybe she was Japanese. I'm not sure. And then he came there and he had some issue with police. I'll make another video of my issues with police. If you subscribe, you'll see the videos. I've had a number of issues with police, way more than in New York, since I've come to Japan. But I figured out the system, and it's been quite a while since I had an issue with police. And then the other thing is there's no joint custody here in Japan. So it's either the mother's custody or yours, and they'll usually go to the mother. So you got to keep that in mind if it does go in the wife situation. And if the Japanese woman does speak English, her personality is going to be geared towards a certain way, and maybe living within her power with the judicial system here, and you have to watch out for that. Another thing is all three of the ladies in the long-term relationships, they love their fathers, but they're not the hugest fan of their fathers growing up. Now, the great thing is they have a great relationship with their mother. They have a very strong familial loyalty, but they're like iffy on the dad. And as a result, they kind of gauge what the mother's relationship is with the fathers and kind of gauge how they want to live their adult lives like that. Okay, next thing kind of leading into that is a lot of Japanese girls that you'll deal with, both I would say over the age of 22, 23, especially over the age of 23, both in America and in Japan, is they've had a few relationships already. So from my experience, when I deal with girls like are super young, like 20, 21, these girls are the ones going more pure intentions. And then the other girls are kind of understanding kind of the marketplace a little. I think the good part about relationships is Japanese women are more realistic in understanding what the market is, and they're a little more appreciative of having a relationship with a great man than women in the West would be. I think women in the West are a little bit delusional on what the actual market is, and you'll actually see that when they interact with you. Now, I will say one thing though. If you're in a big city like Tokyo or Osaka, whether in Japan or in China or other countries, these girls are going to tend to skew a lot more westernized. I would say 70 to 80% of the time. So when it comes to Japanese girls, they're very good at being sweet. That's another part which I'll put on the good part of Japanese wives and or girlfriends for long-term relationships. They're going to put that charm on you. They may be the most charming women out there. I have a lot of opinions from girls from different countries as I have a lot of experiences, but they're quite charming. When they put that charm on, you can see it in other videos talking about Japanese girls. The charm is there, but so they can be warm. They're not the warmest girl out of all the countries, but they could be quite warm and quite charming. But when they go cold, they can go crazy cold. And I could tell you stories in another videos about them throwing things and acting up a fool. So, all right, money being a factor in the relationship. Japanese girls are extremely they're materialistic, definitely. I had one which was not. So my first girl was more materialistic. She was from Tokyo. She was from a super rich family. The other one was less materialistic. That's why I actually fell for her. And then the other one does like material things. It's not out of control. It's not like the West. I don't drive a Lamborghini. Um, I would never show off my Lambo or let girls know any amount of crazy monies I had. I always try and keep whatever monies I have under wraps. But the money will be a factor in the relationship. And if she's not a housewife, you're definitely going to feel the effect as the relationship moves on. So, so basically, just like I think there's a YouTuber by the name of Alpha Male Strategies. I kind of like both Coach Greg Adams in Alpha Male Strategies. Coach Greg Adams for what he talks about marriage. I completely agree with Alpha Male Strategies. A lot of what he says, I agree with. Now, they became repetitive after a while, so I'm not very familiar with their content. I haven't really watched that much. But what I will say is that when they start to feel you're less alpha, there's a divorce rate of 35%, I believe it is, in Japan. It's lower than Korea. It's higher than other countries, but it's 35%. And I have a lot of friends, both in Osaka, in Korea. I mean, multiples, not just a few. I know a lot of guys that ended up getting divorced, and it wasn't really their decision in basically every single case. So you have to make sure you maintain that power balance. And if the girl is working on her own, you're going to start to see that shift in her interactions in the relationships. All right, so we're 12 minutes in. I think those are the most important parts that there's some parts I left off on here, but I don't want to make this into a super long video. Another thing is you're going to need to pull information out of them. So unless you're very communicative like I am, they're not very direct. So if they have an issue, they're not going to really be upfront with it. It might be a secret thing. And I think maybe that's a thing they like about me. So for some guys, this type of wife works out very good. For other guys, it doesn't. So is there anything else on here? Some guys will say that after the Japanese women have the baby, that they're less affectionate, and then that's true. And then they will stick to the marriage to save face, so they're not going to be as quick as girls in the West to get divorced. It's sort of like they look at the business side as maintaining the marriage and trying not to get divorced, even if they have their own boyfriend and you have your own girlfriend. So overall, they're great girls. I thought the first time I wouldn't deal with a second one. I thought after the second one I wouldn't deal with a third one. And even here in Japan, where there's a lot of great girls from Taiwan and Korea here, a lot of beautiful women, I still end up getting sucked into the charming Japanese ladies. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comments down below. If you like this video, hit the like button and the subscribe button, and I'll see you later.